So many of you may be sitting here saying, we're at a research conference. Why is Foursquare here? It's a check-in app. What's going on? So Foursquare has been around for 8 years. And over those 8 years, we've collected mountains of data, specifically location data. And over the past 2-ish years, we've developed a suite of B2B tools that we use for developer suites of tools to help apps improve their capabilities. We use them for insights and analytics. We use them for media and data targeting, as well as effectiveness measurement. And so today I'm going to talk to you about all that we do with location data. Full disclosure, I'm not a researcher, so don't judge me if I say the wrong researchy thing. But I'm going to talk to you about location data and how it's an exceptionally powerful tool, especially in quantitative measurement and research, that honestly I'm surprised I have not heard talked about as much as I expected at a mobile conference so far. So hopefully I'll educate you guys about the value of location, how we use it, and how you may potentially use it in your own research efforts or in your own brand efforts, et cetera. So for starters, we want to look at how you define an audience. Now, everyone in this room is experts on how to define an audience using qualitative metrics, using quantitative metrics. One of the big ones is demographics and understanding who people are based on their generation, age, gender, economic status, et cetera. That's all very valuable data, but it's really not enough to get to the core of who someone is. A lot of what Ken and Alan and Deepa were talking about on the panel is you need more. You need that holy grail. You need that superhero power. And at Foursquare, we feel we have a bit of that superhero power. And a lot of that comes with behavioral data and measuring what people like, what they buy, what they consume. And that data has been readily available, whether you're surveying people or whether you're looking at their online behavior, what sites people are going to, what products people are shopping for. It's very deep into who people are and the behaviors that they exhibit. But something that has not been a core focus of most marketers, to my understanding of most researchers and most brands, is an understanding of where people go at a very measurable and accurate level. Because until now, until phones, you would have had to follow someone around to understand where they're going throughout their day. You could ask them, but like Deb said at the beginning on the Verizon session, people's memories change. They may not remember that they went to the store if you're asking them a certain time afterwards. And fortunately for us, these devices have now become our personal trackers. You can raise your hand if you have a phone with you 90% of the time that you're awake. Exactly. We have these devices on us, and they're individual and personal in a way that no other device ever has been before. Because if you're just relying on online metrics for a quantitative study of what people like and what they do, people are only on their computers when they're at home or when they're at work or at a coffee shop. With smartphones, people are always checking their email, looking at the weather, getting directions, whatever it might be. And the signals that are associated with these phones are exceptionally valuable. And at Foursquare, we've collected them in a pretty unique way because we've had people checking in, explicitly saying, hey, I'm here, I'm in this place for 8 years. We've seen over 11 billion check-ins, people saying, yes, I'm here at this place. And that's helped us create an entire business model around both explicit check-ins, people saying, I'm here, and also implicit understanding of where people are, so passive location detection. And so what you're seeing here is a collection of data points around visitation throughout New York. And people throughout their day going into the city, going to work, getting lunch, going shopping, maybe going out to dinner, going out to a bar. It really tells a lot about the heart of New York or any city, understanding where people are going. But at an individual level, the steps throughout their day. When they wake up, they go to the gym, then they go to their transportation center, and they go to breakfast and work and all that stuff. It's a really powerful way to understand what people are doing throughout their day. And we've turned this into a product that we're actually able to make bold predictions in the market. we've put out a number of press pieces over the past couple years making predictions using the research we've done with location data. So for instance, Chipotle had a really terrible 2015. Considerable E. coli scares, everyone was getting sick, vomit burritos, the whole deal. And we made a prediction saying we think that Chipotle's Q1 sales of 2016 will be down 30% over 2015. Wall Street was saying 22%. When their Q1 numbers came out, it was 29.7%. We were within a percentage point predicting that revenue drop using, for the most part, just location data, just that foot traffic understanding of who was going into a Chipotle. And needless to say for us, Chipotle hadn't really given us the time of day prior to that prediction, and we had a meeting with their CEO the following week, so that worked out pretty well for us. We did similar studies with iPhone sales, predicting the number of phones sold. Again, we were within 100,000 phones sold, beating Wall Street. A similar study around Taco Bell and their breakfast menu. So this data is exceptionally powerful. And we actually have investment firms, real estate companies, retail companies using this data to make large-scale business decisions, investment decisions, commercial real estate placement decisions. We can look at Macy's and say, how is your market share over a period of time relative to JCPenney? Should you look more at low-cost market? All those types of things. So it's a really, really powerful tool, and to what Ken was asking for earlier, a bit of that superpower in seeing what people have done, what they're doing now, and what they may do in the future. Understanding location gives us a view into that. Now, another show of hands exercise. Raise your hand as I go through these companies if you use any of these companies, so specifically on your phone. So Microsoft, Twitter, Airbnb, or Pinterest, or Snapchat. And to get everyone's hands up, Apple or Samsung. Now, all of these companies are huge, huge technology companies, the biggest in the world. And they provide a lot of features to their consumers. But one of the key features that has become part of the day-to-day of everyone's life in interacting with these companies is location. You actually have all, if you raise your hand, used some form of Foursquare's location technology because we have integrations into all of these apps, which is very exciting for us from a partnership standpoint, but also speaks to the value that these companies have for location data. Because location data is exceptionally valuable, and it's valuable in many different ways. It's valuable to all of you as consumers and all the other consumers out there using these apps. If these apps were not aware, if you're trying to use a ride-sharing app and it doesn't know where you are, it's not going to work very well. It's valuable to companies that want to monetize that data or use that data for research. If you're trying to understand the visitation habits of someone to Macy's, especially in the retail category, someone going to a Macy's or going to a mall that is losing market share, you want to understand how you might be able to bring those people back, aside from taking down Amazon or something like that. It's very, very valuable to all of these key players. And what's great, especially for you as you're using data, is that consumers are willing to exchange this data as long as they're getting a quality experience for it. So you're willing to share your location, whether you're using Foursquare or Snapchat or Uber or whatever it might be, because you're getting something in return for that. And that data can then be used in an observational way to have a count of how many people are going to this store or that store and what their visitation behavior is. And so it's this new realm of quantitative data that you can use to help make decisions and help understand what consumers are doing, how you might be able to better reach a consumer, or how you might be able to give a company you're working with insight into what consumers are doing. But a key part of all of this is trust. It's trust, and you all know this in terms of being truthful and trustful and transparent in your research. Consumers need to trust the companies that they're working with. Companies that are providing data to brands and marketers and research firms, there needs to be trust and truthfulness in that data as well. And so it's really important, and I'm exposed to this a lot on my side of the media business, and Greg Stewart, if he's still here, would probably nod his head. There's a lot of companies trying to use this data and monetize this data. It may be new in the research field in this capacity, but in media, it's the hottest thing because everyone needs to build a mobile strategy, and location is key to mobile. So you have all these companies popping up every single year, every single month, saying, hey, we have this location feature, we have that location feature. And so it's really difficult to discern who to trust and who not to trust. So in thinking in light of a brand, or you as researchers, you can replace the brand word in there, but how does this impact a brand? Or how does this impact a research study? I'm about to run through a case study on how we've used this data to drive results for a brand who we partnered with. So I start with a chicken sandwich. We were working with a QSR that asked us the question, how can we effectively promote our new affordable individual and family meal options? They came to us. This was more of a media play, but we wanted to approach it with an insights and research forward tactic to try to drive results for this advertiser. And they had been losing a lot of market share to their competitors. Their loyal customers were becoming lapsed customers. So we needed to understand who we need to reach, who we need to derive insights about in order to provide this company with the effective results that they were looking for. So we started with two audiences, the millennial male, millennial is a word we've heard a lot today, and the household CEO. So understanding these two groups that the individual meal and the family meal would fit into. And what's unique about Foursquare and what is, we feel, our superpower is this always-on understanding of where people go. And so beyond looking at the demographics and diving deeper into the behavioral, we looked at the path to purchase of these two audience groups. We pre-qualified the audience using standard demographics. We have a data science team that does all the normalization of our user panel, effectively, to match it to the US Census. And we basically cut the audience into two for this campaign, the millennial male, the household CEO, and tried to understand, based on people within those groups who were going to this QSR chain, where they were going before and after, to better understand what they do, where they go, what they like, et cetera. So starting with the millennial male, we found co-working spaces, community colleges, convenience stores, and volleyball courts randomly. Sometimes the data is unexpected, as a pre-visit to visiting this QSR. So people who were fitting visiting this restaurant into their day, maybe grabbing lunch in between work or classes. And then in terms of the post-visitation, and this is all looking at the highest indexing visitation categories relative to visits to this QSR, we saw people who are going out, so who may be grabbing a quick, affordable dinner, hockey arenas, Dave & Buster's, the movie theaters, et cetera. So people who are really tying in this visit into their day-to-day life. And looking at the household CEO, we saw it was more errand-driven. People who are dropping their kids off, going to Walmart, going to the bank prior, and then post, going to supermarkets and pharmacies, as well as family outings. So clearly, this is a household CEO who wants something quick, wants something cost-efficient to feed their family. We were also able to pull out individual insights that helped with not only the targeting, but also the messaging tactics as well. So understanding people who are working or students, or people who wanted to go to sports activities. We can actually cater the messaging around what people do on the millennial male side. Similarly, on the household CEO, it could be calling out a specific product offering, or tying in, hey, we have ice cream, or we have coffee, or fit this into your day. It's efficient and affordable and delicious. On top of that, we looked at when people are visiting. So beyond the individual users and our understanding of what they like and what they do, we tried to understand when are the most common times in visiting this chain so we can best use the media budget they've given us to drive results. We found Sundays were the lowest visitation day. So whether it was people having family dinners and wanting to cook, or trying to be healthier on the weekends, towards the end of the weekend, Sundays were the least efficient day. And Fridays were the most efficient. So people maybe letting go on a Friday, or wanting something quickly, like we saw with the millennial male, before they go out. So we were able to understand the cadence throughout the week, again, using our understanding of location data in our insights-driven approach to this campaign. So the results, once we put together the tactics, which were millennial students and professionals, family activities and moms, late week and weekend heavy ups, as well as competitor targeting, we were able to, using both our media efforts and our measurement solution, drive a 29% visit lift from their lapsed consumers. So using all these tactics, using the research efforts we put in, we were able to drive people who had been lapsed consumers from this QSR chain back into the store. We reached their goals by understanding what these people are doing using location data as a key component. Now, this shows that location, as many people think of it, is more than just where someone is. Location is their lifestyle, it's their behavior, it's their interest. It's a very, very valuable tool throughout the chain of getting people to use an app, getting people to, or understanding what people are doing and where they're going. And so for you, how you might be able to leverage location, again, apologies, not a researcher, so it is more of a media focus, but there are a lot of different ways that this can be tied into the efforts that you do as researchers or as brands. So one, and probably the most relevant for this audience, is insights. Learning how people vote with their feet is a great quantitative metric to take into account when you're trying to understand what people like, what they like to do, what their behaviors are. And we use this both from our Foursquare Analytics platform, which is what I had talked about earlier with investment firms and real estate companies, et cetera, using these insights for business decisions, as well as for our own media efforts, where we're pulling together an understanding of what people are doing. Additionally, for targeting, understanding where people have been in the path to purchase sense, and also where they are now. It's a very deep understanding into who these people are, what they do, where they go, et cetera. And finally, measurement. If we can tie together an understanding of media's impact on foot traffic in store, it creates a new conversion metric. We're now able to understand the value of an online ad on in-store foot traffic, which, to Greg Stewart's point earlier from the MMA, is key to getting you closer to sales. It's not about CTR, it's actually about action taken. And 90% of sales are still taking place offline. People are still buying, whether it's groceries or clothing or going to restaurants or bars, people are still buying things offline as much as everyone thinks that purchase is happening online. So being able to tie together an ad exposure to someone actually going into a store is an exceptionally valuable metric to be able to measure. So looking forward, some of the themes that I've heard throughout the day actually tie into what I was thinking about prior to the conference in terms of where do we go next? And I'm thinking of where do we go next in terms of how does location become a wider part of everyone's lives and therefore become a more valuable commodity that any party, whether it's a researcher, a brand planner at an agency, a data company, can use to make their efforts more effective, more accurate, more comprehensive of what everyone is doing. So for starters, and this was recently covered, but augmented reality is more than just goofy glasses. So Snapchat just released their spectacles. Facebook, at their FA conference, they were talking a huge amount about augmented reality. Even virtual reality headsets look ridiculous, but are very cool. But when you think of it, augmented reality, if your phone is in your pocket or your purse, and it knows where you are, it can interact with you. It can give you recommendations. It can ping you to respond to a survey. And so when you think of it from a research perspective, you can actually use this technology to ping someone when you know they're in a store and say, hey, take this survey. You know, I want to know what you're thinking of buying, or I want to know what you just bought, if you have that understanding. So if you tie location, you're effectively augmenting the reality of technology and how aware it is of its surroundings. Secondly, success comes from form and function. A key to this is having a user feel comfortable and want to use your product, whether that is a research tool or an app or piece of technology. And so having both form and function when there's so much noise. There's hundreds of thousands of apps. There's all these different services. To be a consumer in this world, as we all know, there's millions of options. To be able to really shine through and get people to want to use your product, to want to take your survey, you need to think about both form and function and not overwhelm someone or take their data without justification. And finally, the truth shall set you free. This is very important in what we do. We're very transparent about the data we collect, about how we use that data. And so being truthful in our relationships with our consumers, with our business partners, and with the media companies we work with, it shows a level of transparency that is becoming more and more needed, but also all too rare. And so wherever you sit in this whole ecosystem, being truthful to the people you're speaking with or you're working with is exceptionally important to sustaining that relationship beyond an initial usage. So to sum up, mobile, as we all know, we're all here because it's a mobile conference. Mobile is so uniquely individual. Everyone has their phone on them all the time, and it's a device that is unlike anything before and has become ubiquitous because it's constant. You are always on your phone. There are signals that are always being sent from your phone. And that's a very, very valuable tool that you can use. And for us, location is exceptionally valuable. It gives an insight into lifestyle and behavior and intent and becomes this really, really powerful tool for building research models, for building insights tools and developer tools, media targeting and effectiveness measurement. And so we feel at Foursquare that we've really elevated the concept of location intelligence, and we want to make that available and help all different industries, whether it is business decision makers, research companies, marketers, et cetera. So thank you. Any questions?
So in the fast food example that you gave, the 29% uptick, is that, were you able to say, based on your data, that the lapsed users came in 29% more frequently, or is that measure coming from some other data capture?
So in that case, we were using our own measurement tool. We have a match, control, and expose methodology where we look at the users who are exposed to ads. We look throughout our database of unexposed users who exhibit the same behaviors, so same geography, same visitation patterns, same demographics, and then look at the comparative visitation lift.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yep. Any others?
Any others?
Great.
Thank you.
Oh, one more?
Oh,
Did you have one?
Not a question, just a comment here. I would say that this is one area where we researchers have not really invested much. This is really a completely under-leveraged area and a complete wealth of information that we could tap into. This and other proximity technologies like beacons, it can be really very powerful in future. And that's something I think we researchers should look more closely into. So this kind of passive data can be very useful in future.
Great, glad to hear that. And if anyone's interested in hearing like beacons versus the type of data we collect, just grab me at one of the networking breaks. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.